Hello, and welcome to Come Play With Us, a spooky storytelling podcast. My name is Leila, and I'm joined by my evil twin,
Ruby. We're actually both the evil twin. We're both writers with non-writer day jobs. We believe in the power of great storytelling, so we've invited guests with the challenge of weaving a tale about real-life hauntings and paranormal activities with the sole purpose of scaring the shit out of us.
We'll rate them to see how they've done. Our ratings go a little something like this: scared shitless, some chills, and I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. So, thank you so much, Jacqueline, for joining us, because in today's episode, I'm going to share a story with you and you're going to rate me.
Okay.
Me being Leila, because me and Ruby have the same voice. So I don't think listeners are going to be able to tell us apart. I chose something I knew you'd like because I know you like stories that have like a relationship or a love story at the center of it. Love and sex.
Yeah, but you like your sexy
I know you too well. So I definitely, Why? I don't know why you're being shy.
Jacqueline's like, no comment.
With a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I'm getting ready for this. Sexy time.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a gruesome story, but there is a love story at the center. So I figured that was something that you'd like. Any thoughts or feelings or anything before I jump in?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. On October 17th, 2006, New Orleans police responded to a 911 call from the Omni Hotel. A man had leapt off the roof of the building and landed 5 stories down on the hotel's parking garage roof, dying on impact. His name was Zach Bowen. In the young man's front pocket was a several pages long suicide note that said, "This is not an accident. I had to take my own life to pay for the one I took." He wrote in his suicide letter his address for the police and included his keys and his landlord's contact information because in this note he admitted to killing his girlfriend, Addie Hall, and wanted the police to find her. When they went to his French Quarter apartment, they were met with a grisly scene. Words were spray painted on the walls that said, "Please call my wife. I love her. I'm a total failure. Look in the oven. Please help me stop the pain."
Oh, heck no.
2 pots were sitting on the stove, one containing a woman's head and another holding her hands and feet. In the oven, detectives reportedly found turkey basting trays containing legs and arms. The remainder of her corpse was in a large bag in the refrigerator. So who were Zach and Addie, and how could this murder-suicide have happened?
And who's the wife?
More
and also, Leila's snacking in the middle of this, which is weird.
No, I finished. Really fast. I finished my snack.
Let me snack before I talk about all the guts and stuff.
Oh yeah, well I'm familiar with the story, so I also
this
had
is more true crime, right?
pasta before this.
Is this more true crime or is it supernatural? Or is it both?
Let's see.
Ooh, what do you think, Jacqueline, so far?
Ooh, it's gross.
I just see 2 dark rectangles on my screen. I cannot see all at all.
Being the medical professional, this is gross.
It's gross. Ew. As soon as you said oven, I was like, oh.
Were they were they cooked or were they?
Oh God.
I'll get to it.
Oh Jesus.
Okay. Addie Hall, a free-spirited poet and dance teacher, moved to New Orleans after having seen abuse in the past and generally had a rough upbringing. It made her wary toward relationships until she met Zach, a fellow bartender. Zach was known as gentle and unassuming. When he was 18, he met an exotic dancer 10 years his senior and later enlisted in the army to help financially support her and their 2 children. but the experience serving in Kosovo and Iraq seemed to change him. He was unhappy serving, and after a general discharge and separating from his wife, he found work in the French Quarter as a bartender when he met Addie. They would pass love notes to one another at the bar and quickly fell in love. Both were 28 years old. Babies. Their love story unfolded during Hurricane Katrina. When the historic Category 5 hurricane hit New Orleans on August 29, 2005, rather than following evacuation orders, they holed up in their apartment to ride out the storm. Since they were of the very few that didn't evacuate, they gained some media attention in national magazines like Time magazine. After the storm, they were seen making After the storm left, they were seen making cocktails from a cooler, using felled trees and branches to make a bonfire in the middle of the street, over which they'd make scrappy community meals. They took part in cleanup, and within the quiet after the storm, rode their bikes down the French Quarter streets holding hands.
Wait, sorry. When was Hurricane? It was 2005.
Five.
Right? Okay.
But he died on October 17th.
A year later.
2006.
A year later. Yeah. It was a time of survival, and living without electricity and little food and water seemed to make their relationship stronger. But it could have been a distraction to their own demons. Or I guess from their own demons. Addie suffered from bipolar disorder and irregularly took medication to treat her mental illness. Zach suffered from severe PTSD from being in the army. Many of Zach and Addie's friends remember the outrageous fights they would get into. It was a tumultuous relationship from the start, and fueled by drugs and alcohol, Zach and Addie were destined for destruction. They were blinded by their passion for one another, and rather than seek help or break up, they decided instead to get an apartment together. Not long after they moved in, they were barely unpacked. There's still boxes in the apartment. Addie went to the landlord and asked that the lease be put only in her name, because she discovered that Zach was cheating on her and that she would be breaking up with him soon. So when Zach found out, he was outraged.
Say that one more time.
Yeah.
Say that one more time. She went to the leasing office?
Yeah, so she basically went to her landlord and asked that the lease be changed so that it's only in her name, because she found out that this was the landlord said that he basically, Addie told him, like, she was going to be breaking up with Zach, and he was going to be moving out.
Okay.
He's kicking him out because she discovered he was cheating on her. On October 5th, 2006, more than a year after the hurricane that brought them together, the two got into a horrible fight in their apartment on North Rampart Street after Zach found out. According to evidence provided by the suicide note and inside the apartment, Zach said he strangled Addie to death and then over several days cut up her body, even giving her head a haircut before putting it in the pot.
Oh my
God. He attempted to
Mm.
cook as much of her remains as possible to make it easier to discard her body. Since her remains were so unrecognizable and charred, though the coroner, like the police, everyone knew it was Addie, it still took time to identify her remains. After this, of course, the public was calling him a cannibal, things like that. There's absolutely no evidence that he tried to eat her remains or wanted to. It was just like, this was his way of trying to get rid of the remains.
I've heard really quick. I've heard during these, like, whenever there's been a murder or something, and it's of a very personal nature like this, like, they will treat the body a certain way, and that's how they're usually. I mean, I know with this it was obvious he did it, but like, if they find a body and they were treated in a way that involved like some caring, then they can usually point it to someone who was close to the person. So like, they'll put like a blanket on them, you know, or they'll like do something like, and like with this,
cover their face, yeah,
or like he gave her a haircut, which is like, what? Oh my gosh, yeah, it's a very personal. Strangling is a very personal crime, you know, or I guess a very personal method of murdering. Because it's very up close and personal. Okay, sorry.
After he murdered her, he went out partying and drinking and doing drugs with his friends. When his friends would ask where she was, he said she had left him and moved back to North Carolina. Then, after blowing through his money, He wrote the cryptic messages on the wall in spray paint, and then he wrote the several pages long suicide note that would eventually be found in his pocket on his body. The police also, inside the apartment, found Addie's journal with a note that he himself had written in. This is what he wrote. Today is Monday, 16 October, 2 a.m. I killed her at 1 a.m. Thursday, 5 October. I very calmly strangled her.
God.
It was very quick. Halfway through the task, I stopped and thought about what I was doing. The decision to halt the first idea and move to plan B, the crime scene you are now in, came after a while. I scared myself not by the action of calmly strangling the woman I've loved for 1.5 years and then desecrating her body, but by my entire lack of remorse. I've known for forever how terrible of a person I am. Ask anyone. And decided to quit my jobs and spend the $1,500 cash I had being happy until I killed myself. So that's what I did. Good food, good drugs, good strippers, good friends, and any loose ends I may have had. I didn't contact any of my family, so that'll explain the shock, and had a fantastic time living out my days. It's just about time now.
It's what's so disturbing to me is he's almost doing this to give comfort to his family of don't worry, I was happy towards the end. But like, who cares? Like, you killed this person and you mutilated their body. Like, oh yay, your family's gonna be happy that after you committed a horrible murder that you were happy and well fed and got some good lap dances before you like killed yourself. Like it's I mean, it's, you know, classic, you know, sociopath right there. He feels no remorse.
I'm just going to add a caveat that it seems like from some of the sources I was reading that there is this sympathy for Zach. And there's a lot of stuff about Addie, about her being bipolar, violent, delusional. She could have imagined his cheating. It's not really confirmed if he was cheating or not. And it's so funny because how can you feel any remorse for Zach, or not in remorse? How can you feel any sympathy for Zach when you read this note? And a lot of times this note isn't brought up. But he's like, I'm fine. I killed her. I'm going to go have a great time.
Well, also, like, was he trying to, like, if she, let's say that she's bipolar and abusive and she's attacking him, was he defending himself, right? Like, that's another thing. It's like, well, then you leave the relationship. Like, I understand that in an abusive relationship, it's not as simple as we'll just walk out.
Murdering is just not the answer.
Cannibalism is not the answer. I don't care how mad you were, even if you had just randomly killed her. The fact that you did all of that afterwards, like what? Like body?
Because I watch a lot of Snapped, which I have Snapped on right now on mute. But like, because it's like, I understand that when you are someone who is like, you know, if you are experiencing domestic violence or domestic abuse, then, you know, it's hard to leave that relationship. You fear for your life, or you're being manipulated in order to stay in that relationship. But as far as I can tell from this letter, there was no indication that she was abusive or manipulative, you know?
Yeah.
She was the one who she broke up with him, you know?
They tend to point a lot on her, but he was also suffering from severe PTSD from his time. And also, he got pissed when she wanted to break up. So, like, who's the abusive one, right? So, anyway, there's several
two
theories.
Very damaged people, it looks like, you know?
Yeah. So, there's several theories as to why he did it. His PTSD could have caught up with him. And if he suffered abuse from Addie during the period, she couldn't access medication because she would take her medication erratically because sometimes she couldn't afford it and sometimes she could. So the times that she couldn't, you know, she could be tough to be around. So he may have gotten fed up and taken her life, or he may have been cheating and she found out, or he wasn't cheating and it was just a delusion or paranoia of Addie's, and he snapped at her, you know, like either he was found out or he wasn't. I mean, either way, he did not want to be taken off that lease. The most pervasive theory is that a demonic presence from the voodoo spiritual temple that was
here it is. Here it is.
that was underneath the apartment and influenced Zach. So the building they lived in had a storefront at the bottom, which was a voodoo spiritual temple, and above the apartment was above it. So the building was built in 1829. It was originally called Creole Cottage, and it has had since then hundreds of tenants and people moved through the house, including servants and enslaved people. There already existed paranormal stories of disembodied voices and odd noises heard inside, including an apparition of a little boy that would appear sometimes in closets or around corners only to disappear. So then Creole Cottage later on became the Voodoo Spiritual Temple, and it was actually very well known and respected in the French Quarter. Since the murder, it's actually moved up the street from its original location, and the current location of where it used to be, plus the apartment on top, is now a haunted museum. And you can go up and do tour. You could do a tour upstairs in the apartment, and the house is still referred to now as the Rampart Street Murder House.
Oh my gosh!
So people who have lived in that apartment since the murder have heard voices, felt as though they're constantly being watched, or like the walls are pressing in on them. Locals have had a sense of being watched and heard disembodied voices both inside and outside of the house. And the people who come to the museum, when they go up to see the apartment, they often leave money and alcohol on top of the stove and in the fridge, which is basically all where Addie's remains were found.
They left everything the way it was?
Seems like it. Seems like it from the photos.
They do that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like an offering to the dead. And then there's been paranormal investigations inside that apartment, and an EVP recording has picked up a voice saying, "Please don't hurt her." So it's likely that it was from a spirit that already existed and lived there when Addie and Zach moved in. It's also been, and my theory is that I don't think it's from the voodoo spirit. I don't think that has anything to do with it.
They blame voodoo for everything, by the way.
It seems like this place was already like kind of creeping myself out. I felt a presence just now, and I'm like, is it a cat? Is it
probably
Paul?
a cat? It's usually a cat.
I'm alone in this room, and the door is shut. But I think it could have been maybe a malevolent spirit that already existed there because of the history. You know?
You mean it possessed him?
Probably. If there's spirits saying please don't hurt her, they really kept an eye on them. They probably watched them.
But then who possessed him though? Or was he just a sociopath? Yeah,
that could be. I mean, if we're going with the rational explanation, it's that, you know,
he's a sociopath.
He's a sociopath and he did this.
This story made me a little mad.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
So you're getting heated up.
Yeah.
So I listen to different like true crime podcasts and stuff, and there was one of them that like straight up was like it was a voodoo temple, and I remember being like, really, you know? And so I just, in my research, everything I saw was that this voodoo temple was very, very respected, and it didn't have any associations with evil demons or anything nefarious.
Yeah, like, but you know how people are.
It's a community fixture. It's, you know, it's
they use voodoo. They use voodoo as such a like vague, like it's so vague, and they basically apply it to anything that they don't understand.
Yeah,
they're just like, well, this like weird ethnic and foreign.
Yeah, so I just wanted to. So I just wanted to like just double down and say like that was not the case. But anyway, so the apartment has also been featured on the show Paranormal Lockdown, where the host spends several nights in haunted locations. When they were in the apartment, they smelled burning.
I've watched it before.
I have too. They're so cheesy. But anyway.
But Jacqueline, they're brave. They
stay the night.
Separate themselves. Yeah, they'll spend the night and they'll separate themselves into do different parts of it with all this ghost hunting equipment next to them.
And they'll go sleep in the most haunted. Like there's one that was like a haunted cabinet, and the woman like went and like slept inside of it or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a man and a woman. And then they go, they're intense. And I'm like, I don't know how you're able to sleep. And then inevitably
I'll
they'll
be
sit up.
taking so many drugs.
They'll sit up and be like, "What was that? Like, oh my God, I heard something." Of course you did.
Yeah, making shit up. Well, I don't know.
So when the two visited the apartment, not a ton went on, but they at some point did smell burning, and one of them
Because he
became
burnt her body.
Because one of them became nauseous and felt cold drafts. They were really cold in there, and then they also heard footsteps creaking through the house. There was something about the stone being thrown, but I just don't really know if it was like a crow. You know, crows do that shit. So I'm just assuming there's like
crows
a magic
fire.
Wait, crows just pick up stones and drop them? Like, what is
yeah,
this?
yeah, they do that shit.
That's a known crow habit. Like,
Yeah.
Wait, I did not know that.
What?
They're
That's
tricksters.
a really random thing, Lily.
Anyway, so perhaps a city already so full of ghosts went and claimed two more young people so passionately in love that they could overcome a devastating hurricane, but not their own personal demons. The end.
That's deep. That last part.
Yeah, but it's like it kind of makes them like out to be like Romeo and Juliet, but it's definitely not that.
People really focus on that. Like in every telling,
twisted.
There's actually a book
People
too.
love that. People love that.
There's a book that came out about it, and the book like goes into super, super, super deep detail into who they were and like everything that happened during the hurricane. The part about them riding down the empty streets holding hands while riding bikes, like that was from the book. This is an excerpt of the book. But people really focus on the love story because they fell in love so hard and so quickly and in such a romantic way. Like during this horrific hurricane, they wrote it out, and then they were doing all this community stuff. And so like what always gets me about this story is that it starts with this intense love story, and then you just are left with, how could this even happen? But they both are also super damaged, you know.
It makes me mad because cannibalism, this is not just you killed somebody, you burnt their body, like what the fuck, you basted their arms and legs. How come no one's bringing that up?
I didn't necessarily say he basted. He could have basted, but I know that he put her in the basting tray. There was one article that said there were seasonings on her.
What in the so that's what I'm like, why aren't people talking about that? People over there having sympathy with him, like, oh, maybe she was the one, maybe
That's what's crazy to me.
That's like, why aren't people talking about the way she died? That's not normal. Like, am I confused? Like,
it's internalized. What? It's like because I have heard women podcasters even just really be sympathetic towards him, and it's like, dude, he killed her. He killed her, and he cut her up. He probably seasoned her. He definitely wanted to cook, get rid of it. We don't know what the police was like. Look, we know he's a bastard. They were like, trust us. There was no eating. They emphatically denied that there was eating going on. But he did all this, and then he went out and partied and was like, don't worry, I lived a good life. Supposedly,
where's the sympathy coming from?
I have no clue. I don't know why people always blame women. Like, it's her fault he snapped. You know?
What was the wife thing?
So he was married. before, when he was 18 to a woman who was 28.
Oh, okay.
And they had two kids. They had 2 kids, and then to support his family, he enlisted in the army. And when he came back, they separated, but they weren't fully divorced.
So that's why he said, "Please, something my life."
Yeah, and he says, and there's this whole thing where he took a cigarette and he burned his body 28 times. He did 28 burns, and he wrote in his letter it was for every year of his life, and it was because of all his failures. He said he was a shit father, a shit husband, you know, he was a loser. He's all these things.
Did he ever attack his first wife, or?
There's no evidence that I saw, but it's also that things fell apart when he came back from the war. Things got really bad between them. That's all I saw. And then she basically took the kids and left him.
I mean,
and he was left alone, basically single in New Orleans, and then not long after he met Addie.
people snap. I think that I hate to say it, but I think that every human being, I think, and this is why we have such a fascination, an attraction and repulsion from true crime, is because I think every human being is capable of murder, but it's just you snap, right? Like our species is already a very violent species. Like what we were doing prior to being quote unquote civilized, like 90% of the animal species that have existed at the same time as humans are extinct because we hunted them to death. So our species is very, very capable of this. Everyone's capable of it. It's just some people do, some people don't. And I do think that that is why psychologically there is like this very sick fascination with true crime in our society, because it's a little bit like it's a mirror, you know? That's my theory.
Women, we tend to gravitate towards it more. I think it's like embracing our fears, or I don't know. For me, the true crime I like is the ones that have a closure at the end. The person was arrested.
Yeah, for me, it's I want to see that the person was punished. That's why, like with Snapped, I'll have Snapped on, and that doesn't scare me because it is a personal nature. It's not like a serial killer. I can't do that kind of stuff. That stuff really is really disturbing. Where it's like they didn't know that person, but when like it's Snapped, it's like, first of all, it's always on, but also it's just the people, like they do end up having the punishment. They end up going to jail.
Yeah, and I was saying, like obviously consuming a lot of true crime, like for me, tends to make me a little paranoid sometimes, or I can't sleep. I'm imagining someone breaking in. But I was just saying this to Ruby this
Walking
morning.
home at night.
Yeah. I was just saying to Ruby this morning that like when you see or hear about break-ins or things like that, it's a lot of times it's because it's someone they know. It's very rarely happens just like a random hit. It's usually someone knows someone, or something like that. Anyway, are you both gonna talk amongst yourselves?
Oh no, I'm not gonna rate you because it's Jacqueline's gonna rate you.
But I want you to rate me.
No, I'm just chilling.
So we'll Jacqueline, do you need to rehash on the
yes.
Okay. So there's 3 ratings. The first one is I'll be able to sleep tonight, and it's the least scary. The medium scary is some chills. So you got some chills, but you'll be okay. And the most scary is scared shitless.
Okay.
And Ruby, you're gonna rate me too.
No, I wasn't listening last time.
Who goes first?
I wasn't listening for rating. I was just listening for entertainment. So
I still want your rating.
I don't know what it is. Sorry.
So I will go first.
Okay.
And I'll tell the reason why I feel this way. I'm going to be able to sleep tonight.
Ooh, all right. She gave you the lowest rating. All right.
Humbled. Hashtag humbled.
So I don't know. It could be I'm in denial that something like this can happen. And so I'm just like, I can't even fathom. I can't even believe this. Like, I know this did happen, and it's so unbelievable that I'm just like, my brain can't process. I'm just like, this can happen. I can sleep tonight.
And I think, Leila, there was a lot more spent on the crime. It felt more true crime than supernatural. We didn't get enough of the demon stuff, like, because Leila, I would say I wasn't scared shitless, because true crime, when it's like this of a personal nature, it doesn't scare me. Like if it was like a serial killer, it would really scare me. That really scares me. But I would say I got some chills just because it's gruesome. It's a really gruesome murder, and true crime already is just very chilling, But yeah, we didn't get enough of the haunting, the demon stuff. Like, and I'm sure there really isn't much out there. You were really working with what you could find, and there's probably more information about the true crime aspect.
I think if I wanted to make it scarier, I could rely less on the on reality, which was that
Mm-hmm.
he snapped and he was already like, suffering from severe PTSD. Because a lot of versions of the story I've heard kind of like minimize that and focus on like the voodoo spiritual temple or like how the place was already haunted and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think this scares the shit out of me, and it's only because of the fact that, like, if I'm rating myself, is just that our relationship gone wrong. Like, you
That's
put
what's
your love and
scary.
trust
Yeah.
in someone, and they do this to you, and then they like write these crazy letters and spray paint the
If I
wall.
were
And
single, I would probably be scared shitless because I'd be like, I don't know, the next guy's gonna be a demon possessed strangler. I don't know about that. So yeah, um, but yeah, I mean, Leela and I are learning a lot about ourselves by this process because now we've kind of taken on telling stories. It's not easy,
no,
and so yeah, we're learning a lot about how to craft it. There's a way to tell the story in order to get the maximum chills.
Yeah, my video camera won't turn on.
It's the voodoo
Zach.
demons.
Oh God,
I get so
that
mad when
scared
I
me.
see
Ooh,
that stuff.
look, we
So I'm like,
scared
no,
her. We
it's
scared
not.
her.
That kind of scared me when it was just like maybe he was like, I didn't scare her enough. I'm gonna scare her.
Yeah, he's
now."
coming for you, Jacqueline. See, maybe we did kind of scare her
Uh,
shitless. All right, all right.
Okay, now I am scared. Now I'm like, where am I? Where am I?
Where are you?
In my
You're
outside
lost.
clothes. I'm in my outside clothes. Where am I?
You got lost in the outside.
Oh God, where
Um,
am I? That's weird. Now I'm a little creeped out. Now I'm like,
This is
what the
like one
hell?
that we had with
I think it
Rama,
was the
where
ghost of Zach and Addie's.
No,
And they were like, you
no.
should have given her a higher rating. I sent them.
Now we're gonna scare you.
Now we're really going to
Uh,
scare you shitless.
Jack, and we had one that scared the crap out of us, and it's because in the middle of it, our podcast will completely crash, but it was crashing during the scariest parts. And there was one where
Oh
Rama
God.
showed us a picture of the ghost, and the second we saw it and started talking about it, podcast will crashed, and we had no idea if it was even going to save. We had no
Yeah.
idea, and it weirdly did save. And so that's actually another one that we've
Save
already,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. So that one that's a good one
Ooh.
too.
Okay. Okay. I like this though. I like listening.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't like telling the story.
Oh, no. You still have to tell stories in the future. We're just,
No,
we're just playing around.
I know, but like this was my first time listening and I like it. I like getting in the zone. I like making it dark, like closing my eyes because I closed my eyes as you were telling it.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's
and
a
you can
good, I
imagine.
think I need to do that better. Like, I just stare at the screen.
And then
I need
was
to, I
just
need to like get in the zone more.
getting in the zone. I was picturing New Orleans at that time because
Yeah, 'cause
I
you've
went
been.
there and I was part of the cleanup in 2006.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Oh my God. Now, when did I
You
go?
were
I
there.
Oh my God. Okay. So I went to clean up the weekend of September 30th, 2006. So this was a few weeks before this happened.
Oh my God. Did you stay anywhere near the Omni Hotel?
No,
You know
we
where that
were
is?
not there. No. But still, wow.
Damn, Jacqueline, you were there. I think Jack is gonna need to change her rating.
So maybe that's
Hold
why
on.
like I
Let me
was
see
getting
when
in the
this
groove.
murder happened. Happened October 17th. Yeah, so it happened just like 2 weeks
2006.
later. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like picturing it, and then I was like, I remember what New Orleans looked like at that time. So like I was really like getting in the zone of it.
Damn, Jacqueline. So you were there 2 weeks before.
Oh man. And I pictured them like riding their bikes down the street holding hands. And I was like a little concerned about that because I was like, I hope they were careful with like wires and stuff. Like, thank God they didn't get electrocuted, but like, you know.
No, but one of them ended up getting strangled to death.
As romantic as that,
laughing. That's so awful.
As romantic as that imagery was, because I'm scared of riding a bike, I was actually also nervous because I was trying to be romantic with that, like trying to paint the picture for you. Because I know you like romance in your thrillers and horrors, But because I'm scared of riding a bike, I was like, were you holding on with the other hand? Like, were you still a way to balance?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to picture. Like, how did they do that? But I like the environment of it, like the fact that it's New Orleans, and then you talked about like
it's already a haunted place.
Yeah, and then you talked about like that possible voodoo, spiritual shop or whatever, and I was like, what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I like this. I like listening.
So we would like to thank our esteemed guest, Jacqueline, for listening in on Leila's chilling tale of true crime and potential demonic possession in New Orleans post-Katrina. And we would love to tell you another tale, and we'd also love to have you back to scare us.
I would love that. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ladies.
Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to get in touch, you can reach us at podcomeplayWithUs@gmail.com.
We'd love to hear from our listeners. So if you have real life ghost stories or paranormal encounters and you think it'll scare the shit out of us, please send them in. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.